Oh, would you look at that? It's almost dawn outside. I got nothing.
Grim Dawn is an ARPG hack-and-slash dungeon crawler developed by Crate Entertainment and released February 25th, 2016. According to Grim Dawn's website, the team of developers included former members of Iron Lore Entertainment, the makers of Titan Quest. Titan Quest is yet another ARPG I haven't heard of before making this review, but it definitely appears to be similar enough to Grim Dawn that it makes sense that some people who developed it worked on Grim Dawn. You are known as The Taken, yet another generic cover-up to give programmers an excuse not to actually write a script which lets the character call you by your written name. Seeing as only the primary lines are voiced, I'm still not sure why this trope is being used in Grim Dawn. Call me a clever girl. Say it. Say clever girl. You are known as The Taken because you were priorly possessed by an ethereal who didn't like the idea of dying while you were being hung. And I don't mean hung like in the Urban Dictionary definition. By the way, don't look that up, kids. I didn't realize how raunchy this joke was until I looked up the definition for myself. No, the protagonist, you are being hung, and the ethereal is like, peace out, bro! But right before you die, Mr. Bourbon McCree shoots the rope and you're freed. And that's about all the story that stuck with me. Sad, isn't it? I immediately entered dungeongrinding.exe mode, and I picked up quests without listening to the flavor text or even hearing voice dialogue. It doesn't help matters that the first play session that I had was co-op, and only one person can hear or read it at a time. And once the quest is turned in, you can't go back to hear the rest of the quest for the other person. Basically, my takeaway is this: the story isn't important, because we're not going to share the quest with you if you're playing with a friend. But that also doesn't make sense. There's clearly been the fingerprint of extremely detailed lore work that someone did throughout this game. While playing, you'll come across tons of lore books. The achievement only goes up to 50 lore books, but there are much more than 50 random documents scattered around the world. And I haven't read any of them! I probably shouldn't be proud of that, but the way they added it to the game doesn't make me really want to read and see what happened. Generally, it's treated like side stuff, which you can look at if you're interested. You can pick up the document, right-click to eat it. Trust me, you eat it. And then you get experience and go back to smashing zombies in the face. The controls for Grim Dawn are that of pretty much every other dungeon crawler I've ever played. You click to move, you click to shoot. You hold down shift and click to fire or swing without moving. You can hotkey 1 through 0, right click and left click to actions, potions, items, skills, spells, etc. Yet another sign that ARPGs and dungeon crawlers aren't my forte. I cannot sing the praises of WASD. At character creation, you have two choices, male or female. Hey, I'm a pretty simple guy. I can get behind simple choices. I'm used to being given a little bit of customization over my character in some way. Okay, maybe it's not so bad. Let's start off with the basics. There are 6 classes in Grim Dawn, each with a very different skill set and playstyle. There are also dual classes specializations at level 10. Why you dual spec at level 10 is beyond me. I would imagine that the people whom are more hardcore in this game genre would be able to explain in riveting details why this is so awesome. But I am not one of those people. I won't even pretend to be one of those people. Somehow I can adore strategy games, but the number crunching and stats in Diablo, Path of Exile, and Grim Dawn are just beyond me. Thankfully, on normal difficulty, the game is pretty forgiving and you don't run into that much trouble. For my playthrough, I chose the Soldier class and put most of my points into Force Wave and Cadence. until later when my ARPG expert friend suggested I switch over to Blade Arc and Laceration, Field Command and Squad Tactics, and Oleon's Rage. I'll say this much. Switching over to Blade Arc was easier on my poor mouse, which already gets overly clicked to death in MMORPGs when I'm stunned. Don't even get me started on my poor keyboard. Throughout the game, you'll come across shrines, which you can purify in one of two ways. The old-fashioned smash to the face, beat 'em up style, or coughing up some sort of offering instead. Each shrine you purify will give you a devotion point, which are then spent on this crazy star chart. If your eyes are glazing over, don't worry, you're in good company. You start at the center here, and choosing a color: purple, yellow, blue, green, or red. I'm biased, so I like the color green, but against my preferred judgment, I selected based on the stat accompanying the color. Once again, I shall fail you in my understanding of how important one celestial sign is over another. I'm over here like, ooh, scorpions, I like those. Then I mouse over all the bonuses and begrudgingly move on because I don't have any attacks which do acid or poison damage. Here's some good news though. You can respec your skills and devotion points. The more you use this feature, the higher the price is though. Also, respecking devotion points requires you to cough up some shards rather than bits. Bits being the currency used in Grim Dawn. Maybe this is the apocalyptic world and all the survivors are actually Twitch members. I didn't get into the crafting that much. Gearing and crafting tends to be my Achilles heels in video games. I'd rather focus on pew pew than sit down and put gems in my gear. In the words of young Atratzu playing Diablo 3 back in 2012.
I just look for the green numbers.
While we're on the subject of gearing and crafting, maybe I should mention the loot and loot filter in the game. After you've picked up your first set of crappy gear or played about 5 hours of the game, give or take a few hours, you can click on the star button thing located to the left of your health. You can click on this repeatedly to shift between loot filters, and this switches between all loot, common, magic, rare, epic, and legendary. As I hinted at, I switched my filter to magic after a few hours, and a few more hours of annoyment over accidentally clicking and picking up items via misclick. That said, this is a good illustration over the corresponding color and its rarity. White is common, yellow is magic, green is rare, blue is epic, and purple is legendary. Again, you have all this stat work that someone who's really passionate about working numbers could tell you much better than me. But you can take this review from a more practical and casual ARPG gamer's perspective. But I'm also stubborn. I insisted on completing the whole game on normal difficulty before writing or recording any content for my YouTube channel. I can tell you that the game on normal difficulty took me in the 25 to 35 hour range to complete. I give it that amount of time gap between them because I did leave it on AFK for several hours. Oops. After completing the game on normal or veteran difficulty, you unlock elite difficulty, which lets you restart the game and go through again. But this time, everything has been scaled up in level. And after completing elite difficulty, you unlock ultimate difficulty. I don't own any of the DLC for this game, but I did poke my nose into Grim Dawn's 2 currently available DLCs, and figured I'd at least quickly mention them. In Crucible Mode DLC, it looked like you can fight in a small arena and construct defensive structures to aid you. This DLC is required to get all the achievements, if you're interested in such things. I would be, but I have things to do. I don't have time for these shenanigans anymore. And the Steam Loyalist upgrade looked like it's purely vanity cosmetic upgrades. So yeah, there's your fast comment on Grim Dawn's DLC so far. I enjoyed playing through Grim Dawn, even if I got super impatient for the final 10 hours because I really wanted to move on to another game in my Steam library backlog. But the style of this game definitely has a market, and it's very alluring to certain types of gamers. After all, my best friend happens to love playing ARPG dungeon crawlers. I can enjoy and respect them, but I'm not really part of the demographic that this game is probably aimed towards. If you like this genre of game, it's definitely one of the better ones available. But what with choosing between Diablo 3, Path of Exile, Torchlight 2, and Grim Dawn, I'm glad I'm not in your shoes to decide which game you want to pump your time and money into. Regardless of your choice, hopefully you found this review interesting or entertaining. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. But even if you don't, you've already done a huge favor by making it all the way to the end. So thank you. As always, my name's Atratzu, and I approve this review. Atratzu out!